Welcome back. Starting out the second half of the week, Devin is in the process of laying up the first of these remaining ribs that we missed out on. So as you can see, he's just in there putting a bit of resin cabo mix around the edges there before he starts beginning the layup of the carbon fibre. And now that Jeff has everything dialed in with the first of these wing fixtures, he's in the process there of starting to bond things together. So as you can see, he's masked off there the area where the main spar is going to be, and he's just putting down the high sole in preparation for bonding the spar into place. And a few minutes later, there it is. So that's the first part of the first wing actually bonded to the skin. So, and obviously the biggest part altogether, that spar. So it's bonded down on the upside skin. So obviously the wing is inverted right now. And then the spar reaches around onto the winglet skin as well, and that's been bonded to that side as well, as you'll see here in a second. So the next step is to start bonding each of the ribs in place, and then we can move on to the aft spar in there. And meanwhile, I'm still working on the door frames here, so you can see I've got a bunch of fill there that I've still got to sand on. So I've just, go around there, because there's all sorts of different little imperfections, you might say, around these door frames. But anyway, I'm getting through that. And here the guys are a little bit further along, Devin and Jeff. So they're getting the ribs bonded in one at a time, and they're just clecoing them into place once they've bonded them in there with some high sole. So it's starting to actually look like something, which is exciting for sure. So by the end of the day on Wednesday, they had all these ribs bonded into place, and so it's looking pretty good there. Probably more than half the ribs bonded in, and still waiting to do the aft spar or aileron spar. And now this is Thursday morning, and Jeff's basically done a dry fit there of the aft spar and also the remaining ribs there. So they just need to be bonded in now, but it really looks impressive now. It's just really neat to see all those parts come together so quickly, and be able to see what is essentially going to be what lifts this thing into the sky. And here's Devin now doing the second one. So he just did one day because it wasn't needed. He did that one first for the right wing, and now this is the one for the left wing. So just in the process of laying that rib up. And now we're on to Thursday afternoon, and it's time to actually bond in the rest of those pieces after doing the dry fit. So as you can see, here's Jeff laying out the high sole there on the lower side of the upper skin there, and this is the high sole that is going to be holding that aft aileron spar in place. So and he also puts it on the back side of all those ribs as well. So when it all goes together, everything gets bonded in at once. And as you can see there's no aft stuff needed there, but those ribs are also bonded in already, the ones into the winglet, as you can see there. So really starting to come along here. And here they're just about to actually push that spar into place. So this is what it looks like. Fitting it there. A couple little taps on there just to make sure it's snugged in nicely. And Jeff's paying attention to make sure he doesn't sort of smear all the high sole everywhere. So that's why he kind of like tilted it into place there. So now it really looks like something. And the thing is super rigid, or at least it looks like it from with all the structure and stuff that's there. And it's just interesting to look at it coming together. And when it was years ago that I designed this thing in the CAD and laid out all those ribs and stuff, and just to actually see it coming out in sort of physical form is really something special. So I'm kind of really enjoying watching this go together. Oh, and minor rainstorm out the back there, but nothing for us to worry about. And so there it is now with the remaining ribs all bonded into place, including that one that we just whipped those couple of molds together and laid up those missing parts fairly quickly. So that didn't take long to recover from that mistake of mine of not getting all those ribs done. But anyway, so that's basically the most part of that wing done. And as you can see over here, Jeff and Devin are starting to get the other one in place as well. And back on the doors, so here I am laying out the door seals again, and I've sort of just taped them into place, and now I'm putting masking tape on either side of where they're going to sit. And you see I've done on this one, so the white stripe in between is where the seal is going to sit, and in preparation for putting the Pro Seal down and bonding those seals in. And this is just a dry layup there, just to put the lower skin on there, just to see how things are fitting there. And as you can see, the things flange over the way we designed it, and there'll be a tape joint over there where those two surfaces where the upper and lower meet together. And here's the second wing coming into place now, the left hand side one. So again, everything's just dry fitted there, nothing's been bonded in, but you know, fairly quickly coming together now that we've got all the parts already done. As you can see, things have been clecoed into place to hold them where they need to be. And a little side project for Dan is getting our telemetry acquisition stuff sorted out. So we have a little data acquisition module there, and a bunch of different sensors that we're going to be putting in, but I'll give you a bit more information on that shortly.
It's reading.
And Jeff and Devin are busy getting the remaining ribs and the rear spar there, or the aileron spar, are just dry fit for this left-hand wing. And as you can see, Jeff's just sort of drilling this little small cleco holes there to hold each of the ribs in place, and Devin's just dropping the clecos in as they go, just getting it all ready to be bonded in later on. Back on the doors, I've got both of the seals now bonded in with Pro Seal, and so what I need to do now is just carefully peel off the masking tape and make sure I leave a clean finish there and not have Pro Seal get all over the place. So the next step with the doors there will be finishing off the sanding around the frames, and then test fitting these and seeing if there's any more adjustments I need to make to the pin locks before we start actually priming the door frames on the fuselage. And there you have the right wing on the left and the left wing on the right, and the right wing is bonded together and the left wing is all just dry fit. So next week that one will have all these different parts all bonded into place, and so then we'll be in the process of installing the hardware, so the aileron controls and also these the telemetry stuff we're going to put in there, which I'll tell you about in a minute. And back on the engine, Dan has also got there the solenoids installed, those two solenoids down there, and you can see the lines there, one coming out of one part of the turbo intake, and this other line there coming out of the other part of the turbo intake. So we've got the two different temperatures of air that we can pump into the cabin. So there it goes in through a Y there, and in through the bulkhead or the firewall there, and then up through the rear bulkhead into the cabin. So that's how we're going to be controlling the inflow of air for pressurization. And underneath here on the other side, he's got the GA24, which is the Garmin engine and analyzer unit. Got that installed, and a couple of things wired up to that mainly for fuel tank levels. So for this data acquisition, we have some strain gauges, accelerometers, linear position indicators, and also some load cells. But just to begin with, in the wings, we're going to put some accelerometers on the ailerons and rudders. And this is Dan's just doing an example showing you how it reads the one of the accelerometers. And we're also going to put in some strain gauges on the spar and the wing, just to see if there's any weird things going on. But as you can see here, he's just basically got the data capture going. If you look at that first channel up the top, he's got that hooked up to the accelerometer that's just on that board, and that's just that little sort of circuit there in the middle there. And if he shakes it there, you'll actually see some data coming out on that first channel, and you just see it sort of goes up and down there, as it would indicate that the G force is going up and down. So you can see the first one at the top there as it's moving up and down. So that will be a way for us to know if there's any flutter happening on any part of the wing or winglet. And the strain gauges are going to be just to see if there's any undue forces happening there where the wing is bolted to the main spar. And you'll see more on this later on, but basically he's just getting this all going so we can get the sensors installed in the wings before we close them out.
I'm reading
So it's just another thing that we really kind of need to do, being a new design and all. We want to verify that we don't have any problems, and most really the biggest one is the potential for flutter, and so we really want to make sure that we've got that analyzed and not just sort of hoping that it doesn't happen. And this way we'll be able to capture the data and see what's going on and see if we do have any problems, instead of just wondering or guessing or whatever. And we'll still have cameras and stuff. We'll be able to sort of film some stuff and run it in slow motion to see if we have anything similar to what I've done with the engine before, which will be good. And we have 3 of those data acquisition modules, and each have 8 channels, but ultimately there's a lot of data that you can be capturing because those accelerometers have 3 different channels in them, and so the strain gauges, they have 3 different channels in them, and we're going to put multiple sets in each wing. So ultimately what we'll be doing is basically wiring up a particular set of sensors for a given test, and not being able to capture everything at once, because to try and have that many channels capturing at once would just involve having to get a DAC that was just really super expensive, having that many channels. So but at least we'll be able to do tests and give us what we need. And lastly, there's the doors now, and I've actually taken off the masking tape there, and I've just put yellow tape around just to hold the seals where I initially put them, so they don't move while the Pro Seal sets up. So that's our update for this week, and super exciting to see the wings coming together. And just a little bit of trivia for you. It was 3 years ago, on November 1st, 2015, when we first fired up the machine to mill the first plug for the actual prototype, and that was the lower fuselage. So it's taken us a while to get where we are, but we're getting there. And I suspect at the rate we're going, and with what's remaining, we'll have the prototype ready to fly very early in 2019, so not too far away now, unless we have some major problem that slows us down somewhat. So that's exciting to be getting close to that milestone. Anyway, again, that's our update for this week. Thanks again for watching, and tune in again on Tuesday and see what we get up to for the first half of next week.